If you struggle with anxiety, then you know what a crazy imagination your brain can have. It is so good at predicting the ways that things could go terribly, worst possible outcomes, pretending you can see into the future and read other people's minds. It is so great at imagining the worst and leading you astray. Today, I'm going to share one of my favorite tips for channeling your anxiety's imagination away from the negative and scary and towards something positive and calming and a little more realistic. So if this is you, if you can relate, if your hand is raised proudly because you struggle with anxiety, you are not going to want to miss this tip. I'm telling you, it's good. Stick around. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Allison, and I think you probably know me by now. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I love simplifying psychology to help you live a healthier and more meaningful life. And today I'm talking about anxiety, which is one of the most popular things on my website and one of the most common topics that I get asked about. So one of the things, if you are anxious, you know what an imagination your brain has, right? It can think up the worst possible situations, and before you know it, you've gone into a tailspin, super anxious, overwhelmed, and terrified of all the awful things that are gonna happen. If you've got a big presentation that's coming up, your brain imagines all the ways that it could go terribly and that you're totally gonna bomb, right? If you had an awkward interaction with somebody, your brain is replaying that, thinking what a giant loser they think you are, and all the ways that they were judging you. Your brain, your anxiety is so good at imagining all these negative things. And to be honest, rather than fighting that imagination, let's use it to your benefit. The way that we do this is by brainstorming. Brainstorming is one of the biggest keys to challenging your anxiety, but using the imagination to work in your favor. So, when something is coming up, right, your anxious brain is going to imagine all the ways that it could go terribly and go wrong. Your brain is just going to do that naturally. So, let's work with that imagination. What I want you to do in those moments, after your brain has imagined all the worst case possible outcomes, I want you to brainstorm and imagine all the possible ways it could play out, including the positive ways, right? Challenge your brain to see all the possibilities, all the different ways that it could play out. And I think you're going to find that initial anxious negative conclusion that you've drawn doesn't really hold up. So let's practice this brainstorming together. Let's say there's somebody in your life that you kind of want to establish a relationship with. This doesn't have to be romantic, right? Maybe it's a friend or a neighbor or a mom friend from one of your kids or somebody at work, whatever, right? There's somebody you're like, I want to get to know them better, but you're so afraid to take the next step, right? So you think, I want to invite them for coffee, but your anxiety tells you, no, they're going to think you're a weirdo and they're not going to want to go to coffee with you, right? Your brain, your anxiety has imagined a negative, awful outcome before you've even done it. So in that moment, when your anxiety is telling you, don't do it, they ain't going to like you, don't ask them for coffee, it's going to go terribly, I want you to stop. Challenge your brain to brainstorm. What are all the potential things that could happen when I ask them for coffee? Sure, they could say no or think I'm a loser. Sure, that could happen. They could also say yes. They could get excited and say, oh my gosh, I was thinking the same thing. They could say, let me look at my schedule and get back to you. They could say, I don't drink coffee, but how about tea? Or would you be up for margaritas after work? Maybe they'll say, actually, I'm working on a new fitness goal. Would you be up for going for a walk at lunch? Or they could maybe say, oh my gosh, I've been dying to be your best friend. We're soulmates, right? There's so many different possibilities for how that situation could play out. Your anxiety is gonna go to the negative. Challenge yourself to brainstorm all the possibilities for how it could play out. Now, you may not believe these possibilities, but basically we've gone from having one sure outcome, which is they're going to say no, reject you, and think you're a loser, to now we have like 10 possible outcomes, right? So when you look at that, like a scientist from a data-driven perspective, which I've talked about before, your anxiety is going to decrease. Because now you're not just seeing the negative and the scary, but you're seeing all the possibilities. And that is such a key in challenging your anxiety. By brainstorming, we are challenging your brain's default anxious mode of just looking at the negative. We are stepping back and looking at all the possibilities, all the different ways it could play out, or all the potential explanations for something. The number one rule in brainstorming is nothing gets ruled out and you throw out every single idea. So that means you got to think of the positive, sure, the scary, and every single thing in between. Doing this is going to change the game up here and help you be less anxious and more present, courageous, and brave in your everyday life. I will tell you, I use this tip every single day in my own life. No joke. So I know it works. All right, thank you so much for joining me today here on my channel, or Dr. Allison Answers, or wherever you're watching this. If you like this video and you're watching it on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me know what you like and what you want more of. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. You'll be the first to know about videos. I also want to let you know about another exciting freebie. If you are part of my email list, if you're not already signed up and you want to get my free guide, my ultimate guide to tackling your anxiety, go ahead and click here and it'll take you to that link to get signed up to be a part of my email list. I don't send junk, I don't send spam, I send emails once a week, really curated tips to help you live a more healthy and meaningful life. And the first thing you can do is you can get the ultimate guide to tackling your anxiety. So just follow this link and it'll take you right there, click, and you'll be good to go. All right, thanks so much, take care, bye-bye.